Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at creating a 2-point perspective drawing. Let's get started. Right, so there are a couple of things we need to go through to begin with. The first one being the horizon line. Now, all perspective drawings have a horizon line. What this does is it tells us where the sun would set behind it. That gives us two pieces of information. The first one being anything above that line is classed as the sky, and anything below that line is classed as the ground. The second part of this is something called the vanishing point. Now, with a vanishing point, we often refer to them as something called a VP, and it's usually marked as an X on the page. Now, as this is a 2-point perspective drawing, we're going to need 2 vanishing points. Now, I will label these VP1 and VP2. Whilst I do this demonstration, I'll be referring to them as VP1 and VP2. That way we're going to know which way we're taking our lines back to. Okay, so let's start this drawing. The first thing we need to do is start with a vertical line. So you start with a vertical line. Okay, so I'm going to get my pencil and I'm going to place somewhere on this page a vertical line, like so. I'm going to work with a faint line to begin with, and I'll call this a construction line, so it should be quite light. I'm going to go from this point here all the way back to VP1. Using a ruler, I'm going to draw a straight line back to VP1. I'm then going to do the same thing at the bottom of that line, and again I'm going to draw back to VP1. This has created this pane that sort of kind of goes all the way back towards the end. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, so head back to VP2. Like that. And it's at this point we decide how big this is going to be. So for this demonstration, we'll continue with our 3D cubes. Can you remember in the isometric drawing how we had that open book? We're going to have the same thing here. We're going to draw a vertical line straight through, and on the opposite side another vertical line straight through. So again we have this kind of open book with lots of pages in there, like that. Now, once we've got this done, and we're at this stage, we then need to go from this area here back to VP2. And we're now going to create the lid of our cube. And from this point, we're going to head all the way back to VP1. Now, some of you might be able to see there straight away, oh, there's that 3D cube. A few of you might be asking the question, well, why have you got these lines that continue through? They're construction lines. They're just there to guide us. One common mistake I see a lot of students making is when they draw these kinds of lines, they draw them at these weird angles like this. Well, simply that's not a vertical line. Vertical lines have to go straight up and straight down. They don't go off at an angle. They just go straight up and straight down. Now, once I've done that, I can use a darker pencil line to go around the shape perfectly. And I can use my ruler for this. Some students might wish to do it using a pen, and at this stage that's okay. If it's a final drawing, might be expected of you. Call this process inking in. Traditionally at this point, you see, we would rub out the construction lines. So you could just get rid of these now, we don't really need them. And because they're so faint, they're easy to rub out. Personally though, from a teacher's point of view, I'd like my students and I encourage them to keep the construction lines in. That can see and show me that you guys know how this drawing works. If you draw a pretty box on the page and it's 3-dimensional, that's great. but I'm going to need to see how you can do that. For you guys at home, practicing, you can get rid of the construction lines. Now, I've got one more thing to show you, which is quite interesting about this perspective drawing. Let's put a vertical line over here somewhere, above the horizon line now. And we're going to go from the top again, back to VP1, like we did before. And we could probably move a bit quicker now, because the more you practice this, the quicker you'll become, the more accurate you'll become. This time the book seems like it's upside down, perhaps. Again, I can strike my vertical line in. I'm not going at an angle, I'm coming straight up and straight down. And I'm going to put my construction line over here, like that. That gives us these 2 points here and here. Now you don't need to draw the circles, that's just identifying that I need to go from here back to VP2 and from here back to VP1. Now I've got another object, another 3D cube. We'll do the same thing again. We'll take my pen or my darker pencil line and we'll go around the outsides. Now, something quite interesting's happened here. Let's do that line again, that wasn't very neat at all. What's interesting about this is that because we've gone above the horizon line and we're now in the sky, we can't see the top of our object anymore. What we can now see is the bottom. So if I was to shade this with a little bit of shadow and put a little dark piece in there, like that. Maybe there's a bit of light on the left hand side, so we'll make that a little bit lighter. Now because the light's coming down from the top, we're going to have this really shiny top, like this. But I can't do that now underneath because, well, that's all going to be in shadow, so that's going to be even darker. Like that. So what I like about this is anything above it, we can then see underneath. Anything below it, we can see on top. There you have it. There's an introduction to two-point perspective. What have we learned in today's session? We've learned about the horizon line and how beginning things over the top has the sky in it. Anything below that line has the ground in it. We've learned about the vanishing point, or VPs. And in a two-point perspective, of course, we have vanishing point 1 and vanishing point 2. They have to go on the line. And thirdly, when we start our drawing, we start with that vertical line. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do at home. Until the next video, stay safe. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye now.